If you struggle to draft and cut a female trouser, this tutorial is for you. In this tutorial, I drafted a female trouser using two methods. The first method I used was the pattern drafting method, which I drafted the pattern of the trouser. Then using the same measurement, I used the freehand method to also draft the same trouser. And this is what the outcome of the trouser looks like. So guys, if this is a tutorial you're interested in, please like this video, share this video with your friends and within your community. Drop a lovely comment in the comment section. Let me know if you are team pattern drafting or you are team freehand. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. And without wasting much time, let's get right into the video. Welcome back, guys. So this is the measurement we'll be working with. So that's the length, the waist, the hip, the inseam, the knee length, that is the length from your waist down to your knee, the nail circumference, that is around your nail area, then your thigh circumference. So all other measurements will be calculating it later. So now to determine the crotch length, so what I do is to deduct the length, the inseam from the length. So this is the length. My length is 41, then my inseam is 30. So this is what I have. So if you don't know how to measure an inseam, I'll just put a picture right here for you to see. So now my crotch length is 11 inches. So we have to do a little calculation where we'll be dividing the hip by 4. So I'll be doing the calculation on a clearer paper, on a bigger paper rather, for you to see. So your hip divided by 4. So my hip is 35. So 35 divided by 4, that's 8.75. Then the same measurement you divided by 4, you divide it again by 4. That is the 8.75 divided by 4. So when I divided this by 4, I think I have about 2 point something. I have about 2.19 inches. But now I want to approximate this to 2.5. I changed this later to 2.25 because the 2.5 was a little bit small. So now the 8.75 we got earlier plus the 2.5, which I changed to 2.25. So let's add it together. So whatsoever we have, I think we have 11.25 there. So the 11.25 will be the wideness at the crotch area. So in case you want to manage your pattern paper or you want to manage your fabric, so that is how you get the measurement. So I'll still explain this better when you are using fabric, when you are cutting through freehand method. So this is the pattern method. So it is almost the same thing. So but I will explain again during the freehand. So now it's time to measure our length. So I will start with the length of the trouser. Like I said, from my measurement, my length is 41 inches. So you note that down like that. So at this point, just rule a straight line. So the next thing we'll be doing is to measure the other lengths. So for the length of the band, I'll start with the length of the band. I'm using a band of 1.5 inches. Then the crotch length, we calculated it and it was 11 inches. Then the next thing we'll be measuring is the knee length. We measured this in our measurement. It is 22 inches. So the next thing I want to do is my hip line. That is my hip length. My hip length is almost 9, so it's in between 8.5 and 9. So I measured it. Then you rule a line across like this. So you roll the line across. We'll still measure our thigh length. We'll do that very soon. So after rolling this line, I'll go ahead and label so that you don't get confused with the line. So that's the hip line, that's the crotch line, that's the knee line, and this line over here is the trouser length. For the thigh length, what I usually do is to measure 1.5 inches below the crotch line. So I measure 1.5 inches below like this. Then this will serve as my crotch length, as my thigh length rather. So that is the thigh length. So since we've measured all these measurements, the next thing to do now is to go ahead and start taking our measurement. So at this part here, this is the waistband. So I just label this so that you can also see that. So now on the hip line, you measure your hip divided by 4. So my hip is 35 inches. So 35 divided by 4 was 8.75. When we did the calculation, it was 8.75. So I'll measure that right here. So your hip divided by 4, you measure it. Then this other calculation that we did, that is the 8.75 divided by 4 again, you measure it there. So like I said, I wrote 2.5, I approximated this to 2.5, but now I'm changing it to 2.25. The 2.5 is a little bit too much, so I'm using 2.25. So everything all together now is 11 inches. So the 2.25, you add it here. Actually, you should add this to the crotch line, but I'll still do the measurement again on the crotch line. So now whatever you have at your hip line, that is the hip divided by 4, you measure it at the waist area. But what I usually do is to remove half inch from the measurement. So instead of rolling this upward like this, so I will take in half inch like this, then I will reconnect the line. So this new line is the line we'll be using. So now at the crotch area, you measure your hip divided by 4. So you measure it, then you measure the crotch calculation that we did at 2.25 in my own case. So you connect this downward like this, then you connect this to this side. So what I usually do is to place my tape here, then you rule 1 inch upward at that midpoint. So after ruling 1 inch upward, then you go ahead and connect using the curve. So this first line I did was too high up, so I reconnected the line again to get the perfect curve. So make sure you get a perfect curve at this area. So after reconnecting the line, as you can see, there's a little bit changes there, so I got the perfect curve. So now at the crotch area, the measurement we have, from the calculation, it is 11 inches. That is the hip divided by 4, and the measurement divided by 4 again. Altogether is 11 inches. So you find the midpoint of this line, then you just note it like this. So 11 divided by 2, that's 5.5. You get the midpoint, then you draw a straight line at that point upward to the waist area and also downward to the ankle area. That is the knee. So the line will pass through the knee down to the ankle area. So I'll still extend that line later. So let me use this faint marker so that it can be more visible. So you keep drawing this line downward till you get to your trouser length. So this line is very, very important. So the next thing to do is to measure our thigh circumference on the thigh line. So from my measurement, my thigh circumference is 21 inches. In case I did not mention earlier, this trouser is a fitted straight trouser. So it is fitted at the waist area to the nail. Then from the nail to the ankle, it is free. So my accurate thigh measurement divided by 2, which is 10.5. Then you take half inch to one side, half inch to the other side. So at the nail line also, your nail circumference. So from this paper you are seeing on the pattern, so my nail circumference is 16.5. So 16.5 divided by 2, that's 8.25. Then you divide the 8.25 into 2 parts. Like this, 4 and quarter on this side, 4 and quarter on this other side. So to be able to get the 8.25. So after doing that, let's just go ahead and connect our knee to our thigh area. So in case you didn't get the explanation at the thigh area, just like we did for the knee area, so your thigh divided by 2. So my thigh is 21, so 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. So I measured 5 and quarter on one side, 5 and quarter on the other side. So now this is what we have. So I'll still go ahead and connect the other parts. So let me just connect this thigh down to my hip area. So this is what I have. So since this is a straight pant and not a pencil pant, so at the thigh area, so you extend what you have there. So the measurement I have there, I'll be taking it to at the trouser length area, that is the ankle area. So you just take 4 and quarter at that point, then you do 4 and quarter too at this other point. That is your measurement, your new measurement. Please don't use my measurement or your own measurement. So after you've done that, just connect the trouser area, that is the ankle area, up to the thigh length. So my ruler is not long enough, so I have to measure the measurements again at this midpoint so I can connect this. So you connect it like this. You connect it like this. So now the only thing left is the upper part, that is the waist area. We've not measured the waist. So let me use a marker to roll this out so that the lines can be more visible. So this is what I have here. So now let's move to the waist area. So on my waist right here, I'll measure my waist divided by 4. So this is 25.5. So 25.5 divided by 4 is about 4 and is this 6 and quarter inch? 6 and quarter inch thereabout. So you measure your waist divided by 4, then you add your dart allowance if you are using the dart. I love to use a dart on my trouser so that it can be very fitted and very smart. So I rolled that downward straight on the band measurement, then I connected it like this on this other part. So this is what I have here, and on this band side I just roll it straight. So at this part here too, let me use a ruler to connect this so that it can be more visible. Like I said, I took in half inch at the waist area for that crotch side, so I took in half inch there. So now this is what we have. So we are basically done with this front pattern. The only thing left is to take our darts, which I'll be doing later. So for the darts, so this line that I have here, I don't want to use it. So what I do is to measure my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 4 plus half inch. Then I'll measure it here. So I have 4. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7. So 7 divided by 2, that's 3.5 plus half inch, that's 4. So just through the line. So the length of my dart is usually between 4 to 5 inches. So now I'll take half inch to the right, half inch to the left. So this is what the dart looks like. So the dart does not affect the waist. The dart does not affect the waist. So I'll be cutting away the dart on the waist when I'm done. So you know we added the dart allowance to the waistband too. So I'll be removing it. Yeah, so this is the 1 inch that I'll be cutting away. So I'll go ahead and cut the pattern. If you would like this video, please drop a lovely comment. Let me know which team you are on. Is it team pattern drafting or team freehand? Let me know in the comment section. So this is the front pattern. So we are done with the front pattern. So this is what the front pattern looks like. And this is what the band looks like. So the band should be shorter by 1 inch. So now let's cut the back pattern. So now for the back, we don't need the band, so we won't be starting the measurement from the band. So now for the back pattern, you add extension to this upper part. This is not for the band, this is for the allowance of the butts, because some people have a very big butt. So for this crotch to accommodate the butt, you have to add an extension there. So my butt is not that big, so I'll be adding just 1.5. So if you have a very big bum, you can add about 3-4 inches to this part here. So me, I'm just adding 1.5. So I'll just be adding 1.5 upward, and it works for me. So if you have a very big bum, you can add from 2 inches above to like 3 or 4. So this is my 1.5 inches extension. Then I went in by 2 inches at the waist area. As you can see, that is not starting immediately from this front crotch. I went in by 2 inches. So now I extended this line like this. Then you place before you roll a line like this, what I usually do is to place my tape on it first. So I place my tape on it. What you can do is to measure what you have at the waist, that is the waist measurement on this front pattern. Then wherever the length gets to, you just mark it on this line. Make sure it is on this line. Or you can just measure your waist divided by 4, then you add your dart allowance. Or the shortcut to do is just measure what you have on the front pattern. So the length, whatever the length is, just measure it on this line. So the line is the same as this other line on the pattern. So now we'll be blending this into the crotch area or to the thigh area. So you blend this in. So next time, I blended this into the hip area, but it should be blended to the crotch area. So there's not much difference actually, but just blend it to the crotch area so that it can look so that it can blend well, rather, so that it can blend well. So if this gets to the crotch area, it will blend well, as you can see. So it will blend well like that. So this is what I have. So the next thing I will be doing now is to extend the crotch line. You see the crotch line from the front, you extend it on the back pattern with just 1 inch or 3/4 inch. So let's use 3/4 for me because I don't have big bum bum. So I'm using 3/4 inch. Then you connect that point up to this new point at the waist area of the back. So I'll be showing you soon. So I prefer to use this ruler because this one can do the job. So I just place this on it, then you connect this down to this new point. So to the new crotch extension that we did. So you connect it like this. Then we have the new crotch for the back. So we have the new crotch for the back right now. So the next thing to do now is to blend this crotch line towards the thigh area. So it's to blend it towards the thigh area. So just blend it a little, then you cut out your pattern. So now this is what we have. So for the dart also, I'll measure my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus ½ inch, that's 4. That is 3.5 plus ½ inch, that's 4. Then the length of the dart, like I said, my length is usually between 4 to 5 inches length. That is for the dart. So this is what the dart looks like, and this is what the pattern looks like. So this is the back pattern. So this is the back pattern, and this is the front pattern. So we are done with the pattern drafting. So we'll go over now to cut this same measurement on the fabric. So in case you want to manage your fabric and you don't know how to fold, that is the measurements you can use to fold. If you struggle with this kind of measurement, so I'll be teaching you how to fold accurately. So we'll be doing a little calculation right now. So to know the folding of your fabric, we are working with the front pattern first. So your hip divided by 4 plus your crotch extension, so that's 11. So now I'm adding ½ inch allowance at this crotch area, that is sewing allowance. Then at the side area, I'm adding 1 inch. So for me, I have 12.5. So the wideness of the crotch will be 13 inches rather. That is after approximating it, I have 13 inches. So I will fold by 13 inches. So with this folding now, it will be able to accommodate everything I have. So now to deduct the band from the length, so you know my trouser length is 41 inches. So I'll be using a band of 1.5. So that 1.5 minus 41, so I have 39.5. So the length of this trouser will be 39. That is without the hemming allowance and all other allowance that will be adding. So now I have 39, then I added 2 inches for the hemming as the lower part. The difference between the pattern drafting and the freehand is that you have to take note of every allowance when you are cutting using a freehand, and you can easily forget, which will make your trouser have issues. So that's why I prefer to draft the pattern, so that when I'm transferring it, I will ensure that I add all the sewing allowance. But when you are using a freehand, you can easily forget all the sewing allowance. So now I'm measuring the 39.5 inches. So that's the actual length of the trouser. I didn't measure it with the 2 inches I added at the lower part, though, please note that. Then I'll be adding ½ inch at the upper part for the hemming. So that's where the allowance comes in. Because we are using a freehand, we have to add allowance. If we don't add this, it will affect the trouser length or the other measurement. So you have to add every allowance. So you have to ensure to add every allowances that is required, so that it will not affect the measurement of the trouser. So I'm adding this extra ½ inch at this point for the width allowance. So now the next thing I will do is to place my tape 1.5 inches on the second line. That is, the 1.5 inches is the band. Then I'll measure my crotch length. I'll measure my hip length. My hip length is about between 8.5 and 9. So I will rule a line across those points. So the next thing to do now is to start with the hip line. So you measure your sewing allowance. You know from our calculation we added 1 inch. So after that, you measure your hip divided by 4. So from our calculation we have 8.75. So now as the crotch area too, you measure your sewing allowance of 1 inch. Then you measure your hip divided by 4. Then you measure the hip divided by 4 again. That is that 2.25 from our calculation. So I'm trying to adjust this because of the chalk. The chalk is adding to the measurement. So now the remaining half inch at this area is the half inch that we'll be using to sew at the crotch area. So that 1 inch is for the side, the half inch is for the crotch area. So now everything I have on the hip with the sewing allowance, I transferred it to the waist area. But I'll be going inward by half inch. I'll be going inward by half inch. So instead of connecting this straight, I'll connect it to the half inch I measured. So now at the crotch area now, I will connect the hip to the crotch area using this curve. Make sure you connect it very well. So I'll connect this like this. So this is what I have. So now at the crotch side, I'm adding half inch to this side for the joining allowance at the crotch area. You know this is a freehand method, so we are adding all the allowance at once. So I've added the half inch like that. So for my waist divided by 4 is about 6 point something. Then after that, I will add 1 inch for that allowance. That's if you want to use it that. So after the 1 inch, then I'll add 1 inch for the sewing. You know we already added the 1 inch at the hip area. So I'll add it to at the waist. Then I will just connect it like this to the hip area. So this is what we have. So the next thing I want to do is to measure my nail length. So from my measurements, my nail length is 22. Yes, it's 22. So I'll rule a line at that point. Then I'll locate my tie line. So tie line is usually 1.5 inches below the crotch line. So that is what I'm measuring now. So that's my tie line below my crotch line. So what I will do now is to measure every measurement I have, excluding the the sewing allowance. You know there's a half inch sewing allowance at the crotch and there's a 1 inch at that side. So everything I have here, I will measure it, then I will divide it into two. So I have about 11 inches there, so I divided it into two. So I'm trying to see if the measure is, if I divided it well. So I'm dividing it again, so this is what I should have. So everything I have here now with the sewing allowance, I'll measure it and transfer it to the nail length. If you notice, I measured the sewing allowance together with it. This is because I want to get a straight line like that. So now my tie circumference is 21 and 21 divided by 2, that's 10.5. So I have to measure 10.5 here. So I'll measure 5 and quarter to one side, then 5 and quarter to the other side. Then I'll add my half inch here for the sewing allowance and 1 inch here for the sewing allowance too. So let me move to the tie area. So at the nail area rather, I will measure my nail circumference. So my circumference is 16.5. So when you divide 16.5 into 2, you have 8.25. And when you divide 8.25 into 2, you have almost 4 inch. So let's just say 4 inch to this side. So after that, I will add the sewing allowance. At this crotch side, it is half inch. Then at this side, it is 1 inch. So now you connect it just like this. Then you connect this other side too. So now let's move to the ankle area. So from the pattern we drafted, you know, we just measured the same thing we have at the nail at that side. So that's what I'm just trying to do. So I'm trying to extend this straight line downward like this. Then whatsoever I have, you know, I divided 8.5 into 2 at the nail area. So that's what I'll be dividing to. then I'll be adding the sewing allowance of half inch, 1 inch. So I'll connect the points together. So this is what I have. I'll also do the same thing too for this side. So extending it downwards, this is what it looks like. So now we've successfully drafted the pattern for the front body. So we'll go ahead and cut this now. We'll go ahead and cut it. So let me know in the comment section, which method do you prefer? Do you prefer to just use freehand, or you prefer the pattern drafting? For me, I prefer pattern drafting because I can easily change the pattern to create other trouser design. And again, when you are using a freehand, sometimes the chalk do deduct from your measurement or it adds to your measurement. But if you are using a pattern, we get the accurate trouser. So this is the front pattern after cutting it out. Then I want to place my pattern paper. You know, we drafted the same measurement, so let's see if it's the same thing. So looking at it, it's actually the same thing. It's the half inch at the waist area, at the crotch, at the side. Though I noticed this crotch side at the new area, you will see is more than half. So that's because of the chalk. The chalk do add to the measurement. So this is what we have, and I can say that it's the same. So now let's cut the back. So I've placed this front on the back and I'm adding 1.5 inches here. Then I will go in by 2. As you see that I placed the tape after the half inch at the crotch area. Please place it after the half inch at the crotch area. Then this is what I have. So like I said, if you want to, you have to draw a slant line from this point here down to the waist area. So you have to draw a slant line down there. So you measure your waist divided by 4. So that's what I measured there, my waist divided by 4. Then I added 1 inch that allowance and 1 inch sewing allowance. So when I place it on it, I have the measurement is exactly what I folded. So you can just measure what you have here. So this is almost 8. Then you measure it here too. You see that that's 8 there. So you can now rule a line across that side. Like I said earlier when we were drafting the pattern, if you are ipsy or you have a big bum, you can just extend this 1.5 inches to about 2, 2.5 or even 3. Now let's blend this in. Like I said, you blend it towards the crotch area. So you blend it towards the crotch area like this. So let me just use this straight part so that the pattern does not look funny. So this is what I have here. So this is what I have. So at this area, I will extend it by 1 inch. As you can see that I'm extending the second line, not the first line. That first line is the sewing allowance. So the real crotch line, that's what I extended at that side. So I'll be connecting these 2 points together. So I'll be using this, my French curve, to connect it. So I'll be connecting it to this point like this. So after I'm done connecting, then I'll go ahead and just add the half inch for the sewing allowance at the crotch. So in case you want to use more than a half inch at this part, you can extend it. You can add 1 inch. If you want to put 1 inch zipper allowance, you can put 1 inch here. So but I'm using half inch. Half inch is enough for me to fix my zipper. So now this point here, I'll just blend it in to the thigh area. So after blending it in now, I can go ahead and cut my back. So guys, I'll go ahead and cut now. Like I asked earlier, which of this method do you prefer? Do you prefer to use freehand method when you are cutting your trouser, or you prefer to use a pattern method? Let me know in the comment section, and let me know which of this method that I used was very clear to you. Let me know in the comment section also. So this is the back pattern. So I'll be placing the back pattern that we drafted earlier on it. So let's see if it is the same also. As you can see that it is the same too. It is the same. What we drafted is the same. As you can see, everything is the same. So it is the same method. If you can master any of this, you will get the same results. Now let's work on the band. So like I said, this was the small pattern we cut out earlier. So now this is 4 inch. You know the band is 1.5, but I added half inch for the folding, that is for the joining of this band to the trouser pattern. So, and I added half inch. This is the back. I added half inch for the zipper area and 1 inch for the side. So this is the front. So folding it into two, I just added 1 inch for the side. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to see the sewing tutorial, please comment part 2 in the comment section, and I will drop the sewing tutorial very soon. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.